Badger fans, we have arrived. Practice starts tomorrow, and we got one of the best in the business on the show today to talk about it and break it all down. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. And Badger fans, we have made it. We have made it to practice. Tomorrow it starts. I'm so excited to welcome just an unbelievable guest, as always, onto the show. Mr. Nick Osen from 247 Sports. As always, not just a good dude, but a good friend. I'm happy to have him here. I want to start here, man. We're going to talk about defensive line depth, running back depth, storylines to track, players that aren't being talked about enough, basketball. We got a ton to get into, plus listener questions. We're going to cram it into about 25 minutes like we always do. But I haven't had a chance to say publicly, man, congratulations on your engagement.
I appreciate you, Ryan, man. What an incredible lead in. I appreciate everything we're going to get into. And truly, this isn't my first time saying it on here. It's certainly not the last, dude. You've been, really one of the best friends I've made since coming back. You'll be at that wedding in the future, all that good stuff. So we're going to keep it rocking, but you're the GOAT, man. I appreciate you. We'll keep it going.
And Tyler Reynolds in the comments is excited to see Osen, chanting the Osen down there. I want to start here, man. One of so today was media day. You got a chance to talk to Coach Grimes, Coach Tressel, a couple players. One of the things that was the biggest issue last year, and I apologize, my lighting is going in and out, but we'll make it work. Like Leo Chanel, we're not going to miss a rep. One of the biggest issues last year was that front seven, the inability to hold up over the full game, the inability to generate sacks, tackles for loss.
Mm-hmm.
What did Coach Tressel talk about today in terms of defensive line depth? And I'm going to put a tweet you had up there. I'm going to put that up on the screen as well.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely, Ryan. I was really impressed, to be honest, not just with some of the things he said about that group, which I will mention, but even on a deeper lens, like areas he was feeling really good about, he was honest about. And even if there was like a concern, he shared that, which I'll note a little bit later. But in terms of the D-line, man, we've been reporting it. You and I have talked about it. You got to some practices. The excitement around that group is palpable, because like the team was not perfect last year. Nobody's saying that. Nobody around the program would be saying that. But the D-line was a major issue. And whether it's coming from, Coach Whitlow talked about it a little bit in the spring, his excitement, the players themselves. We talked to Ben Barton. I think the biggest thing, Ryan, in terms of skill is just depth. Like there's going to be, from what I've heard, 8 to 9 guys that they legitimately can trust to get out there. Ben Barton, he just said today, I'm not really going to be a pass rush guy. I'm a true nose. I'll get in first, second down, try to stop the run. So that's a couple guys there coming off. You bring in pass rush specialists. Like I think just as a whole, I feel like Tressel feels like he has the guys needed. And Ryan, I think as we get deeper into the show, it was needed to be done because there can't really be any big excuses this year because of the huge opponents that they will be facing, both in the pass game as well as the run, of course.
Yeah, and your tweet down here, Ben Barton said, quote, Corey Walker might be the fastest player I've ever seen at 290 pounds. Barton is clearly excited about the room, as well as the aggressive responsibilities of the D-line. One of the things I talk about a lot, man, and I want to kick it over to you and see what you think. I think one of the biggest issues we had with not generating tackles for loss last year in sacks was we never put offenses in a position where we could really pin our ears back. We didn't have enough 3rd and 7s. We didn't have enough 2nd and 10s. That's a spot where a guy like Barton or Perkins, right, or a couple of different people, we have a set of guys now who I think can gum up the run game, which then allows our guys like Clayton and Reiger, maybe those guys, to rush the passer. Am I crazy?
No, Ryan, it's a phenomenal point, man. That is why, like Coach Tressel talked about today, they didn't need to just add some of the depth I alluded to, but sheer size, man. Guys that can really affect things in the run game. Like you mentioned Barton, talked about Perkins, who is one of my favorites that I've seen, as well as just his energy, man. It's like us, it's infectious. He's really brought a lot of good things to that room. We didn't even mention, Parker Peterson, who was a huge ad at the time, or JVR Suggs. He does a little bit of both. I do like him in the run game too. That's 4 guys right there. And though I'm not penciling this next player into the top, 1 or 2 lines, we've seen a little bit of what Dylan Johnson can do. Exuponu can do a lot. So it's really exciting. I can tell you very confidently the group is excited, both on the record as well as just talking. I think, when you check in with players and people around the program, this line's going to look a little bit different.
Craig Sanders says the chosen one. Again, lots of Nick Osen fans in the chat. Is there a guy in the defensive line? And then we're going to shift to a couple other spots because we got a lot of ground we want to cover. Is there a guy not getting talked about enough, in your opinion?
Frankly, I think it might be Barton, because he's someone, and I think we're all guilty of this. We focus so much on kind of the new names. I'd go with Barton or Corey Walker. I think that first week, Corey Walker had some buzz, and obviously he's going to be more the outside big edge type rather than interior generally. But then you didn't hear maybe as much as Charles Perkins showed out a lot, Suggs, returning a couple guys. But then Barton, I think we forget about, because he's been here so long. He's not the new name, maybe not the flashy game. Like he'll tell you himself, he's playing in the run, but Ryan, he is massive. I think he's got one of probably the best work ethics I've really seen from an athlete. I mean, I'm sure you heard or saw some of the stories about like going to teach, grinding super early to work out and then doing the practices with the team. Just really impressive stuff. Always a good interview. Those are probably the two names I'd say, guys, don't forget about these two as well.
Great stuff there. Let's shift over to the offensive side because I know you got to talk to Coach Grimes as well. A big part of this conversation last year was, should Cade Yakimelli get more reps? Should he get more touches? How does Dylan Jones fit into this? Where's Darian Dupree going to fit into this? What does that running back room look like this year? I know that's something you guys specifically talked about today.
Yeah, no, Ryan, I appreciate that. Not only did we talk about it today, but I actually asked Coach Fickle about it last week. I'm really intrigued by this room, Ryan, because I felt like this year compared to last, there were a lot more flashes and chunk plays in the spring. Now, I've been careful. We both know we're optimistic people about Badgers and in life. And, people tend to kind of grasp on the negative things. So I haven't predicted, 2,000-yard rush or anything like that. But I stand by it that I believe 3 players from this room could eventually be in the NFL. I really do believe that and think that. And so I asked Coach Grimes just about the room, and I think he was very honest too, like Tressel. He said, this is one of those rooms, Ryan, there are several within the offense right now. We're still maybe figuring out who the guy is, like who that guy is, but we know there are several options of who that can be. Now, in the spring, Dylan Jones flashed the most, at least in my view. Dupree was hurt at times. Last year, I thought Yakimelli looked like the best back at times, and we got some testing numbers right there. He is just a freak in the weight room and still has that type of speed. And then Dupree, I've been cautioned as I've kind of talked about and pumped up some other guys, like, don't forget about DD back there too. Obviously a massive recruiting win at the time in the class of 24. So all of that to say, and I would trust Ituka. I know that Justin and I have talked about that with you. Like I think this room might be in the best spot in terms of just talent, competition, things of that nature. The only thing you maybe worry about in this day and age is how are there going to be enough touches to keep everybody happy,
Yeah, and let me ask you about Yakimelli in particular, because I know you've had a chance to talk to him. He feels like the type of guy that is going to be rarer and rarer in this version of college football. For better and worse, no shade to anybody else who people leave to find better opportunities. That's what we do as human beings all the time. He's a lot of people would have left last year in his shoes. What's his mindset and what makes him different?
That's a really good, honest point, Ryan. I think it's a couple things. One, he's a player I've gotten to know a little bit. I met his family, a couple times, just out at events and things. Just really loyal, focused, and it was cool. He was really confident too. So I think even if opportunities haven't come or haven't been as much as he would have thought, like I think that there's still a confidence that he will get some opportunities. Number 2, I do think this scheme switch and a new OC coming in helped too, right? Because if Longo was coming back, like who knows if Cade, and that's not a report or anything, but just it was pretty clearly unfair, that he was just kind of like fully pulled out of that room a little bit from Longo in terms of just not getting the opportunities. When he got the ball, it was like 8, 9, 10 yards per tote. So I see it counting, 10 to 12 carries a game. I'm not sure that's going to happen, for him or any one guy at times, just because there are a ton of mouths to feed. But I think it will be kind of a shifting backfield, which I think could be fun as long as everyone is still in that mindset of supporting each other, which they are, Ryan, and just keeping everybody a little fresher.
Phenomenal stuff as always from Nick Osen. We're going to take a quick second here. We're going to come back, talk about Billy Edwards Jr., why this team might be a little different than last year, some listener questions, freshmen that could play this year, and basketball. We got a ton to get into on today's Locked On. First, a quick second for our friends of the show over at 5 Hour Energy. Listen, 5 Hour Energy is incredible. Right now, time to fuel up. Turn it up with 5 Hour Energy. It brings the bold, grape, ginger, light flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick and energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one is a hole-in-one for your energy game. I know Nick has probably needed some energy shots at times with all the hours he's putting in on the road. Listen, I once, when I was golfing on my submarine base, hit my captain's house with a drive. I probably could have used a little 5 Hour Energy at that moment as well. Listen, if you've ever been in Groton, Connecticut, you know how close his house is to the golf course. It's a terrible design. And I'm also a terrible golfer. Right now, golf is all about the good times with good people and good flavors. Of course, the grape, ginger, lime flavor gives you the best parts for your clubhouse to go without chasing down the beverage cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that's number 5hourenergy.com. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONCollege to get 20% off your order. The offer is only valid until September 30th on one order. It cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good for subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5 Hour Energy shots today. All right, Nick, let's get into this. More that you got into, a lot more to cover here. You had a tweet about Billy Edwards Jr. and just the leadership. And I've been thinking about this a lot because I've been a Badger fan for 20 years, man. I'm going to put your tweet up here as well. It reminds me, not necessarily in the talent level, but it reminds me of how Russell Wilson came into the program and immediately won the locker room. He immediately was the guy that was obviously going to media days. He had control of everything. People believed in him. How important is that? And how much of that is maybe just, we don't know what else to talk about in the offseason?
No, Brian, I think it's legit. I do have, and it's funny, our friend of the show, of course, Vivi, gives me credit at this at times, just kind of being able to read like sincerity of people and if it's, all legit or not. Man, Billy's the truth. We will see how he obviously plays and stuff, but you just get a feel. I remember, Ryan, I was fortunate to speak with him day or so after he committed, and we did it over the phone, just an interview. And I think he's really got all the tools, whether it's his game, physically, mentally. He really, truly cares. Like, he cares about these dudes, whether they're going to be catching 50 passes from him or trying to sack him at practice, obviously pressures. Like, it's all real with Billy Edwards Jr. And I think that will lead to more success because I think all the guys feel a true connection. One of our favorites, Vinny Anthony, just told me that today. Like, he said, yeah, we formed a connection really, really quickly. We've bonded. And he said something like Billy has been able to do that with just about the whole team. So while I know the Russell Wilson talent, NFL Hall of Famer comp, obviously you were talking more about coming in, personality, leadership. I think it's all there. And I do think he could be a sneaky under the radar type of performer conference wise, especially in some of those marquee games.
Is Vinny Anthony, and we're going to get into, this is a good spot for me to get into my next question anyway, who's a couple players not being talked about enough. I think a lot of people could take this question and talk about maybe new players on the team, maybe freshmen last year that could emerge this year. I almost feel like one of the best players on last year's team, Vinny Anthony, is also one of the most slept on guys on the team. I don't think nationally people realize how good he is.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I've had a couple questions about like, will Tretch maybe be the top guy? There's a lot of excitement about Ballard. All good things, but like in a tough season, Vinny Anthony was the guy. And obviously Will Paulding was in and things. But he was battling some injuries and they didn't have kind of that true like deep vertical threat opposite Vinny. And now they do. So I think it'll be really intriguing. I know Craig, that's an old friend of mine that actually said, Ryan, that he was going to be tapping in, man. Huge football guy. So I will just say, until I see otherwise, Ryan, Craig, and everyone watching this great show, I still think it's going to be Vinny. But I do think the numbers, man, from him to Ballard to Tretch to the running backs and kind of their options, I think it's all going to be really close. I just get the sense this is an offense that just a bunch of mouths are just going to be, fed in pretty equal fashion.
I think it's well said, and I agree. I think there's a lot of targets here that are going to be tough to keep happy. But man, like you look at Vinny Anthony as a guy who averaged 17 plus yards per catch against man coverage last year. That's a better number than Jeremiah Smith. I mean, like what he did last year on, quite frankly, a broken passing offense. I think he gets labeled as a one-trick pony too much. Like he runs 9 routes. He's also a great route runner. He's tough to bring down. He has great hands. He's an NFL
Really
guy.
good hands. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. You know it.
I think he's an NFL guy, man. I love that answer. By the way, Adam Pettis says, my kid is in New London. That is right next to Groton. That's the base I was on. So, Adam, that's amazing. That means your kid is probably in the Coast Guard, which is incredible. Thank you for his service. That's absolutely amazing. Love it. Philip Borman, question. Do you guys think Lance Mason can take tight end 1 from Tucker, or is it going to be more of a situational thing at tight end, Nick?
But yeah, Philip, great question. I wish that I would have seen Lance so far here in Madison. Obviously, I had a scouting report ready for when he committed. What I saw, I felt validated in hearing Coach Grimes today. Essentially, I'm not ready to give anyone else that tight end 1 spot. It feels like a competition. But as Coach Grimes talks about all the time, Letton has said it, like you have to do a ton, Ryan, at tight end in this offense. And I'm not sure the blocking is maybe there yet for Mason. Like it could be, but it sounds like everybody needs to see that. I don't think any spots are just going to be, given, of course. But I will be shell-shocked if he does not have a decent role in this offense.
A couple questions here regarding Edwards. And again, if you guys have questions, we may not be able to get to all of them. Throw them in the chat. Nick can see those too. I can see them. We'll try to get as many as possible. We saw a couple of variations of this question, Nick. This one is, Josh, does Edwards have an NFL arm? And I saw another question earlier. Does Edwards have an NFL skill set? Where is he on that scale to you?
That's a good question.
It is a good question.
It's going to be tested, right? Because Wisconsin's going to see, I think, 3 of the projected 8 or 9 best defenses in the country. So obviously you're going to get a good feel. NFL skill set, to me, that's an auto yes. NFL arm, I want to see obviously more consistency just in terms of, going against live defenses and some of those deep shots. But in short, while I'm not going on and saying he's going to be a, day 1 pick, I do believe he's an NFL type player. And I don't think I'd be the only one really kind of around the program to think that. I think it's probably how I would best say it. But to me, Ryan, I mean, for him, for this program, I just wrote about it like 2 hours ago. Man, let's just see a QB1 get through this season healthy, Because then then the offense should be better as we think. Then if there's success more on the national stage, then you get opportunities. I mean, to me, he sounds like a, Senior Bowl, East-West Shrine Bowl type of dude, impressing in every interview, kind of galvanizing guys and like maybe getting a day 3 opportunity. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting so far.
I'm mostly with you on that. I see a guy who's 6'3", has good size, moves pretty well, has enough arm. He's got the toughness and intangibles that the NFL absolutely loves for their backup quarterbacks. You see a guy like Tanner Mordecai who's still in the league. I don't think Edwards is any less of a physically talented kid than Mordecai. A little different, but no physically less talented. I agree with you.
That's a great thing to bring on. I know we got a bunch to hit still, but yeah, and as Tyler said too, like I feel like Mordecai, just God-given talent abilities, as they say. I mean, man, when you see him fly, like I would maybe give him the edge, but Billy, size, like you mentioned, he's a true 6'2.5", 6'3". He's strong. He can make every throw. From what I saw, he can make every throw. To me, it was just about, limiting a turnover here and there, obviously leading to some victories, but great questions there.
Man, we got some good ones too. And we're not going to get to everything because when we have a good guest like Nick on, we run out of time before questions. But this is a great one too. This is from Mike M. Outside of Clayton, any true freshmen have a chance to play really meaningful roles this year?
Yeah, so I wish I just had, Mike here briefly to just ask what he meant by meaningful. But to me, that includes special teams, Ryan. And so taking that into account, absolutely. And my mind goes to a lot of defensive guys. I already had these thoughts. It was cool to hear Mike Trussell talk about them on Monday. Coop Catalano. We've been talking about him since the spring. I know that, his awesome family follows your show and some of my work. And Coop is a phenomenal kid, in-state kid. Like, it's not just a Wisconsin, showing love thing at this point. Like, nose for the ball is translated well from that Germantown great program, Jake Davis over there. Like, the kid is going to see the field, whether it is coming in for spot snaps or straight with the twos or special teams. He's going to play. I think Mason Posa's got too much talent, athleticism, work ethic to not see in some form. Obviously, he was not here in the spring for good reason, as Coach Fickle would say, too, like chasing a fourth title and winning that. Grant Dean's gotten a lot of love, from people around the program and quoted today. You might see a young corner or two. And then I definitely would need to mention Eugene Hilton Jr. as well. So I think I've kind of written and said on, I think Justin show as well with Rajiv, around 4 to 5 guys not locking into any starting roles. But, you talk about Clayton in the pass rush. I think all those dudes see the field in non-garbage time.
And by the way, you can see Nick's tweets down below, so you can see the type of content he puts out. I recommend going to follow him. Great stuff as always, and it's more than great. It's consistent, and I think Nick does a great job of keeping that content consistent. We're gonna take a quick second here. We got a little basketball talk coming up again. We're not gonna be able to get into everything today, but that's okay. That means there'll be another day we get into the rest of it, probably. So we're gonna do basketball talk and a couple other football nuggets, and then we'll wrap this show up. Quick break for our friends of the show, and a quick second to say thank you for tuning in to Locked On Badgers. Nick, I want to take this opportunity here as we come back off this break. What do you have going on right now? What can people look for that you have cooking up on 247?
Ryan, I really appreciate that, truly. And I won't go too long. My thing, and, I've met a bunch of your listeners, our friends in person. I'm a people's person. I like to be kind of just the person that happens to be reporting. We're all just big sports fans at heart. So the passion is true. It's consistent. I will say this. We've got a half-off promo going. You're going to get content every single day of the year. I haven't taken a day off in 3+ years. Can't let the Beyonce hear that. But that is the truth. We're going to have multiple bodies at every fall camp practice, breaking things down, takeaways, video. I'm going to add a new thing this year as well, just like parting thoughts from this week type of thing. We've got 4 Thoughts Friday, Q&As, mailbags. It's worth it. I wouldn't pitch it because there are bigger things out there in life than, football and recruiting. If you're into that, though, it's basically about, let me just do this math real quick. It's about $60 right now for probably nearly 2,000 articles. So I think it is really, really worth it.
One thing I'd say, and I say this about people that I know, it's a good thing to support good people doing good work. So go support Nick, go support John Payne. I've met all of them. I know all of them. Really good people. I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. I just wouldn't say anything. So go support those dudes for sure. We're going to wrap it up here, man. Again, we're not going to get to everything, and I apologize for that, which we can't get to, but tomorrow's a big day for practice, so we want to be respectful of Nick's time as always. I do really like this question from Northwoods. Biggest holy cow, that dude is a lot different this year. So somebody from the roster last year that people are going to be like, wow, that guy's different.
Amazing question. I mean, we've done a bunch of these. I think this is like our 15th show, 14th together. That's one of the best questions, Northwoods. I'm gonna go with a couple. I did get a quick look at this earlier, but not enough to think of an answer. So I want to say, man, we'll see what the production looks like. But I actually, this might surprise you too, Ryan. Rico Hallman is one that I'm going to use because even he would tell you himself he has kind of leveled up with some of the things that he's done going into this year. So he's going to be one. I just so fortunate to have a sit down with him in Vegas, which was amazing. Austin Brown, probably my number one player for this choice. He's my under the radar NFL guy on this team. And then offensively, just some of the buzz, man. I'm hearing about Brunner and Renfro. It's exciting. So those are where my answers would go. I know it's not, the QB running back wide out, but always try to be accurate. I wish that we had a comparison for a guy like Catalano, though, or Perkins. Obviously, they weren't here last year, but those are guys that maybe casual fans don't know about as much. And get ready, 2 NFL players right there in my eyes.
Well, Jaden Ballard would be another one to fit in that. Not in the roster last year, but for the casual fans, you might see a guy who steps up this year, and you're like, wow, that looks like an NFL receiver because physically he is. The other guy that was on top of my mind, and I was curious if you're going to say him. To me, it's Tackett Curtis. I know you've talked to his trainer. I've talked to his uncle, who's his high school coach, and this is a dude who's just been waylaid by injuries his entire career. He's healthy. And when he was healthy, this was one of the blue chip prospects in the entire country, that class. I can't wait to see him, man. I think he could be extremely good next to Allegro.
I think they both will be. So many good options. Like I truly do believe in a lot of those guys, and I think it's not even really a hot take at this point because I saw it was like the Senior Bowl or East West Shrine or something came out with the list, and a bunch of Badgers names were on there. Obviously, that's usually older players, but like that's funny. But there's just a lot of true talent and guys that are ready to perform this year. I know we'll probably do 2 or 3 more shows before that first game. So I'm not doing my, official record pick, but I've continued to say I know it's a tough schedule, but I think these guys are going to surprise a little bit and get that marquee win.
Hey, Nick, I'm going to take the heat on this one as a mediocre host. I did not get into basketball yet, and we're already at 25 minutes. I want to kick it over to you. Anything else that you would like to hit on as we wrap up the show? Because I know tomorrow's a big day, and I don't want to keep you past a time that's appropriate. Like, I know you got to get stuff done, but anything that you want to hit on as we take this show out?
Yeah, I would just say, I think our readers can tell this is very sincere. I walked in from Vegas to practice last week, and it was pretty cool. I'm friendly with everybody, so a bunch of what's ups, and I planted down Payne on one side, my guy Ryan on the other. And this is related, and it also paints our friendship. But Nick Boyd had a couple of plays where we turned to each other and just said, whoa, he's not going to be John Tanjay. He's not going to be All-American necessarily. We'll see. I mean, Tanjay was different, but you don't see those types of guards here all the time. And I just hope that fans getting ready for hoops in a few months, we're not rushing time, but he looks legit, of course. John Blackwell is what we expected. And, Kim's, we will see how much time he gets, but he hit a couple great looking 3-pointers when we were watching too.
Yeah, dude, I loved watching him and Garlock. Garlock looks I think I undersold him, and I'm gonna take that hit. I think he could play this year. Kins looked great. Boyd got downhill. It's gonna be a fun team, man. He is Nick Osen over at 247. Y'all know who that is. Go check out what he's doing and his tremendous team. Follow him on Twitter. You saw some of the tweets he put up today. I'm Ryan Aarons. This is Locked On Badgers. Practice starts tomorrow. Nick, we have made it.
Let's go. Let's go. You know what,
We're
Ryan? I was telling Vivi and my family, I used to kind of get a little nervous, avoid, okay, September's coming, August coming, it's about to go back to school. School is done, and you know what the beautiful thing is, Ryan? We got football back, baby.
That's it, brother. I'm excited to see you this week, hopefully, when I get down there, but I know you're going to have it covered. We're going to tune into what you got to say after practice tomorrow. And if you're listening to this show, we have a bunch of great guests today, starting off with Nick today. I think Coco's coming on. We got Coach P on the women's side. Zach Zilma is going to come on, like Nate Bus Hoops. We got a bunch of content coming up this week. So, as always, love you guys so much. Appreciate you.
That's a loaded week, dude. That's a loaded week.
Listen, we start with Nick. Dude,
all the people that you just named are true friends of mine as well. So that is hype. Other than Coach P. Haven't met her yet, but yeah.
It's a loaded week, but we start with Nick, right? Because in baseball, you start with your ace. We start with the ace, and then we go from there. So he is Nick Osen. I'm Ryan Herrings. Thank you so much for tuning in to Locked On Badgers. It's practice week. Tons of content coming from both of our sides on Wisconsin, and we will talk later.